Have you ever stared at a report card and just wondered how they came up with those grades? We hear the words assessment and evaluation all the time in schools, and, most of us probably use them interchangeably. But it turns out they're not the same thing at all. And honestly, getting the difference can totally change how you look at the whole learning process. So check this out. This quote right here gets to the heart of it. When you hear the word assessment, you probably think of tests, quizzes, red ink, but its original meaning is something completely different. Something, well, a lot more human. Yeah, that's right. The word assess actually comes from the Latin word assidere, which literally means to sit beside. Isn't that wild? So at its very core, assessment isn't about judging from on high. It's about partnership. It's about a teacher working with a student to figure out where they are and where they need to go next. So think of it like this. Assessment is a diagnostic tool. A teacher is gathering information by watching, by looking at student work, by having conversations, and the whole point isn't just to find out what a student knows. The real goal is to use that info to figure out, okay, what's our very next step to help them learn even better? Okay, so if assessment is all about sitting beside the learner, then what in the world is evaluation? This is where things get really clear. Let's put them side by side. Assessment is all about the process. It's formative, meaning it's there to help form and shape the student's learning as it's happening. It's constantly asking what was learned and how well was it learned. Also, the teacher knows exactly what to do next to help. Evaluation, on the other hand, that's about the final product. This is where the grades come in. It's a final review of what's been done. We call it summative. It summarizes everything. And yeah, it's judgmental. That's literally its job, to assign a final value or grade to the work. Okay, here's the best analogy I've ever heard for this. Assessment is the coach, giving you feedback during practice, helping you get better. Evaluation is the judge at the competition, holding up the final score. See the difference? One is this ongoing process that's all about growth. The other provides that final closure. You absolutely need both, but they have totally different jobs. All right, to make this super concrete, let's step away from the theory and into a place we can all picture, a PE class. How do you actually grade someone's physical ability? It's not as simple as you might think. Well, first things first, you can't assess something if you don't know what you're measuring, right? You can't just say a kid is fit or unfit. That's way too broad. Fitness isn't just one big blob of a thing. A teacher has to break it down into smaller, tangible pieces. So on one side, you have health-related fitness. This is all about general well-being. We're talking about things like cardiovascular endurance, how long can you keep going, muscular strength, flexibility, all that good stuff that keeps you healthy. And on the other side of that coin is skill-related fitness. This is all about how your brain and body work together. Think about balance or hand-eye coordination for catching a ball. It's all about performing specific tasks well. Okay, so now the teacher knows what to look for. But how do they actually do that in a gym full of energetic kids? Let's look at a really practical, clever way to handle this. A fantastic tool for this is something called a skill assessment circuit. The teacher just sets up different stations around the gym, and each station focuses on a specific skill. Now, the key here is that this is not a test. The goal isn't to get a high score. It's just a chance for the teacher to watch and see the skills in action. So you can picture it, right? The class does a quick warm-up, then students rotate through the stations. Over here, they're dribbling a soccer ball. Over there, they're practicing jumping and landing. And the whole time, the teacher is moving around, observing and making little notes, either mentally or on a clipboard. And this is where it all clicks. This is that sitting beside idea in real life. The teacher sees a student struggling with hopping. What do? They don't just write down a bad grade. No way. Their response is to give that student more practice, maybe a few tips to help them improve. That is pure, powerful assessment. But of course, all this ongoing observation and practice has to lead somewhere parents and students will actually see it. So let's connect all these dots and figure out how to decode that final report card. This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? How does all that formative coach-style assessment get summarized into a final, summative evaluation? How does the messy process turn into a clean, finished product? Well, it ends up looking something like this. All those little observations from the circuit and other activities, they all become data points. The teacher gathers them over time and then funnels them all together to make a final judgment.
and evaluation on each specific skill. So a student might be excellent at skipping, but still needs some work with a jump rope. It's not one single grade for PE. It's a detailed summary built from weeks of that sit-beside style of assessment.
So, let's end with this question. If we really truly think of assessment as a partnership, as this process of sitting beside a learner to help them grow, how does that change the way we feel about grades? Maybe that final evaluation isn't so much a verdict, but more of a milestone, just a snapshot of one moment on a much longer, much more interesting journey of learning.